Good morning, all of you. Now you're seeing all the banter as we get ready behind the scenes to go live in Zoom. So hang tight for just a sec. We're super excited today to have, of course, my co-host Dave Savage, but we got a couple of rock star guests. We're fortunate enough to have Kai McBride back on, following up on his call on Tuesday where he crushed it. And then, of course, we've got our special guest, Jonathan McKinnies from Hallmark, back in the Midwest, Indiana. There we go. I remember that. I was there last year in the 4-degree weather, and it was 4 degrees for a guy who's in Phoenix wearing short sleeves because it's going to be like 80 today. So,
hey Todd, we are live. It is being recorded. Everybody, welcome to the Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind. We've got a super cool event today. We've got Kai McBride joining me from Tuesday's call, and Todd Bookspan, as he just said, is going to help co-facilitate and lead today's call. As our special guest, we have Jonathan McKinnies. Jonathan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, not much. How you doing?
Good. How is the weather in South Bend, Indiana today?
It's actually pretty sunny. I think we're at about maybe 30, maybe 40 degrees right now, but we're looking like we're going to have a pretty sunny weekend. So we're warming up.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, I had the honor of meeting Jonathan in person. I was there for a lacrosse event. My son was at a lacrosse event in Notre Dame, and Jonathan and I got to become friends. And I think since that in-person meeting, what was it, about 2-3 years ago, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'd say so. About 3 years now. Mm-hmm.
3 years. At the time, you were using Mortgage Coach, but it was kind of like, hey, when I get grinded, it's like my extra thing I pull out. And since then, you've become just a Mortgage Coach black belt where every family's getting it. So good job on that, brother.
Thank you.
And then 2, you are killing it in the social survey land. What are you, one of the top 200 loan officers in the social survey annual contest?
Actually, the 2018 was top 50, and then 2017 I was actually top 10. So I don't know what happened there, but yeah, I've been in the top 50 last couple of years.
Yeah. So guys, that's out of 28,000 loan officers that are serious about getting 5-star reviews. So that means not only is he delivering an amazing experience, he's doing an incredible job of getting people to give him reviews online. And to me, that defines being a modern mortgage professional. He's using Mortgage Coach to deliver advice. He's using online reviews that both help his conversion, they help his referrals, and so you're doing a lot of things right. Now, the other thing, and the reason why I asked Jonathan for today, is I follow him on Facebook, and he's killing it. He is, in my opinion, you are the digital mayor of South Bend. You're doing your loan officers with cars. You're interviewing local business leaders. You are my digital mayor. I don't know, and I'm kind of curious what this call is all about. For most of the realtors in that market, do they look at you as the digital mayor? Who are you the digital mayor for? So, Jonathan, why don't you just start with giving us, describe your strategy. And then, Kai, since you're not going to be on the entire call, we'll let you ask the most questions and provide the most color in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. With regard to being a digital mayor, I definitely have some growth. I'm not on all social platforms as much as I'd like to be. I do think that I probably embrace Facebook a little bit more than the other platforms. I'm highly engaged in LinkedIn and Instagram, but Instagram, I need to get more involved in that. But with the social digital mayor part of it, I think it's a company mentality. And so the culture of our company at Hallmark is to kind of let the loan officer brand themselves. I know that there's a lot of companies where you sort of brand the logo of the company or brand the company, which is good. But their goal was to get each of the loan officers to really push their own local brand. And so our buzzword is to be hyper local. Is if we're competing with larger, the Quickens of the world, Rocket Mortgage, you're competing with some of the bigger banks and even some credit unions in our markets. One of our goals is to be that community resource, be the connector, be somebody that can support on a local level, what the other companies, real estate agents and business leaders in our area are doing. And so I think that real estate agents probably look to us, me and our branch as a whole, being pretty engaged in the digital platforms. And we actually host, we call them lunch and learns or breakfast and learns. You guys probably do that often, those that are in lending. We have digital training classes where we actually teach real estate agents to do some of the things that we're doing. And so we've actually just recently implemented a page. This is a company thing, but there's, just some people that embrace it, just like Mortgage Coach. They'll embrace it and do well, and there's some that just will not embrace it. But our branch as a whole has embraced a brand that we've kind of launched in the last 6 months or so. It's called Michiana Living. So if you're in our area, you'd be like, you're not in our area. If I said Michiana, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. It's hyper local. So we are on the border of Michigan and Indiana. And so everyone calls that Michiana. And so for us, if you're in the area, you know all about it. And so we branded this Facebook page called Michiana Living TV. We go out and we interview a lot of businesses in the area, and we engage with them. But I can keep talking. So you want to go ahead and ask questions, Kai?
Well, before Kai does that, Kai, one more thing, and then I will let you be the leader for the first 30 minutes. I do want to make sure everybody takes a note on that. Like if you want to be the digital mayor of blank, might be your city. I love that, Michiana. I'm going to hand it off to Kai, but I also want to make sure that before we get too far into this, you walk us and you give us a tour of Facebook a little bit. So, but back to you, Kai.
Yeah, Jonathan, I wanted to ask you I think when people talk about branding and local branding, they think about consumers and their name and their brand to consumers. But can you tell us a little bit about how that has affected your branding with real estate agents? Because I talk a lot about you have to, so that you're not that person that nobody knows and you're always cold calling. When agents know who you are in the area, they know who you are first, then it's really very impactful. And I've learned with some of my clients that as they become famous digitally or they're doing radio on TV, agents really look at them different and all of a sudden give them respect. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact you've had on agents and the attitude, how much that's changed for you since you've done this?
Yeah, well, I think historically I've always had the goal of trying to be a positive influence, so be influential as much as possible in the right way. And this platform with social media has really helped us get to a point where there's actually some real estate agents that would like to be on our interviews that we have with some of the local businesses. So what it's done for us is it's allowed us to connect with real estate agents and add value to their business outside of just a transactional value, which is good. My brand is to give pre-approvals you can trust and communicate throughout the transaction, but this helps you add more value that's actually tangible, that's going to help those who are not really into social media get out of their comfort zone a little bit. And so when we do that, once again, it allows us to be that influencer of our business partners, and it helps them kind of get out of their comfort zones as well. So we're almost, in a way, I feel we're almost coaching. We're kind of a little mini coach to them and helping them get into different platforms. And so it's been very good. It's been a way for us to show value outside of just a transaction. So it's been good.
So you do interviews with agents, you interview them and you talk to them about their business and their niche, the market they serve, and they've seen that as a way to promote themselves too?
Yes. So myself personally, what I do, I'm a branch manager and I'm also a loan officer. And so I manage 8 loan officers, and then I've got my own team. So I produce and manage as well. And so I really have a 2-pronged approach when it comes to my business model and how I approach my day. And I'm always wanting to make sure that I'm adding value to the loan officers and making sure that they can trust me, and at the same time adding value to the business partners. And so what I've done outside of the Michiana Living TV platform is I love Zoom. I use Zoom a lot. And so I will get real estate agents on a Zoom interview, record it, and put that out onto Facebook. And we may not even talk about real estate at all. And so what I'll do is, as an example, I'll have somebody on, and I should have brought that up. I don't have it up on my computer right now, but I interviewed a newer agent, and it was just asking about mindset. So we talk about mindset. We talk about morning routines. We talk about, what are the top 3 frustrations that people have when they're trying to start something new. It could be something totally unrelated to real estate, but then it lets people get to know that real estate agent on a more personal level. And I've always been of the school of thought that if it's really nice when you have third parties referring you, or you have somebody that's cross-selling you. And so when I'm doing an interview with an agent, it's basically cross-selling them and putting them at a position or in a platform where they are the influencer. They're the one being interviewed, so therefore they're the one that has more influence because of that. I think that's been a really good thing. I do the same thing with my loan officers, and I've had to push a lot of them out of their comfort zones. We do certain Facebook Live things where we kind of get goofy on, we call it loan officers in cars, where it's kind of a spinoff. If you guys ever seen that Netflix show, Jerry Seinfeld has comedians in cars getting coffee. So that's kind of my inspiration. But I would just go on, we'll sing a song or something, then we'll talk about one quick tip with my loan officers, or I'll have them on a non-live call and do a Zoom interview with them and just ask them a few things. Try to keep it to maybe 5 to 10 minutes at most, and then it's been really good. So absolutely.
Yeah, I'm literally in my car right now, so I totally understand. But so these agents and your loan officers, they see it as a good way to promote themselves too. And I've got to think, because I have a few clients doing this, that they're very open to doing this. And I'm sure that this has been a way for you to meet new agents that maybe didn't want to sit down for traditional coffee, but they'll talk about interviewing and really getting some exposure out there, right? That's a really great opening piece to start a relationship with somebody.
Right. It's a lot of people don't want to do video in our generation. We know that that's where everything should be, but a lot of people still don't like to see themselves. They don't like to hear their voice. And if you're there holding their hand during that process, it adds a lot of value, because a lot of people just need somebody to kind of be there with them. And that's really what I try to do.
Dave, in our last call, if you're still here, we talked about doing a lot of video and, in today's video marketing world. And one of the best ways to do video, if you don't want to be a talking head and just rambling information, is doing exactly what Jonathan does and just interviewing people. There's so much value in interviewing experts, loan officers, agents, and just starting a video series where it's a conversation. I think it's a lot more natural. And like Jonathan says, when somebody's leading the other person, the information flows. So how many of these are you doing on a regular basis, Jonathan?
Well, with Michiana Living, that page that we have, we try to post 2 videos a week. And what I've done with that, actually, I've gotten all of my loan officers to contact local businesses in the area, and they connect with a business. It may be a business that they've already connected with, or it could be just one that's kind of a cool restaurant or something like that. And once they connect, they schedule the video. I go out there, I'll meet with them, and I'm actually the one doing some of the recordings and helping them get out. So it's going to be myself and the other loan officers, but we try to stick to 2 a week if we can. And so we got another one that should be hitting this afternoon with one of my other loan officers. She just went to this really cool bookstore and downtown South Bend. That's where we're at in South Bend. And she had one of her real estate agents, close friends of hers that was connected with this bookstore owner, and they both interviewed the bookstore owner together. And we produced the video, and it's going to be hitting very soon.
So, Dave mentioned I have about 20, 25 minutes before I move on to my next day, the rest of my day. And so I want to go ahead and
everybody.
My golf day. My
Dave,
10,
man, you can't throw him under the bus. He's doing us a favor.
Let's just be very correct. I was trying to keep that really down low, but the golf hat might give it away.
Kai, you're in mortgage coach land. This is where we keep it real, keep it authentic. By the way, everybody, it's Kai McBride's birthday, not birthday, like coming up birthday week. And so he's got a golf date with some, I'm sure, good friends that will be heckling him.
Yep.
A couple things.
I got 4 days of it.
So anybody who's watching this, make sure you give Kai a shout out on Facebook. Let's blow him up in a multi-channel way. If you know Kai's text, tell him happy birthday. So sorry, Kai, I just didn't resist, buddy.
No, it's Monday, so this is the first of 4 days I'm going to be golfing. But Jonathan, I wanted to just go ahead and hit with some of the direct questions. That videos and digital mayor. This is a great way to create exposure, but what's generally your strategy for, converting that platform? You have a lot of realtors that have been very open-minded about being on the show. Typically from there, that really open up the relationship for you to then meet them some more, talk about business? How do you generally continue the relationship from there?
That's a good question. So I am still old school when it comes to a lot of the tactics on developing relationships. And so I still believe in sitting down for coffee. I still believe in going out to lunch. I still believe in having a personal relationship with people. It's not just all digital. And so I believe this is just one of many unique value propositions. And a lot of the people that we opened this up to is not just anybody. We wanted to make sure first we opened up any of the commercials or co-hosting the things that we're doing to people that we've already had relationships with. And so all it's doing is just reinforcing our relationships with those agents. But I believe that it's really very organic because it gives us one more reason to make a phone call. It gives us one more reason to connect. And you're not just saying, hey, how was your weekend? You're actually saying, hey, we're going to be doing another Michiana Living video. Would you like to join us? So from our standpoint, it's been very easy to connect with them on that way, on a more personal way, just using this as another reason to make that call,
Hey, Jonathan, I want to make sure we get to the results. Like, are there any specific, referrals, realtors, making it very specific monetization? It's great that you have this attention,
Mm-hmm.
but do you have new business? Stealing a term from Ron Quintero, there's busyness and there's business.
Mm-hmm.
What is the business that you're getting so far from this?
That's a good question. It's always the age-old question, can you connect specifically a lead or a referral to everything that you're doing? And this, just so you know, when it comes to this Michiana Living post, we're trying to not brand, and you guys may not get this initially, but you're not branding a company at all. It's Michiana Living TV. There's not Hallmark Home Mortgage on it. It's not Jonathan, the loan officer, trying to continue to brand himself. So from a consumer standpoint, we're really just adding value to the community. We've only been doing it for about not even 6 months. And when it comes to consumers, I can't tell you that I'm getting a lead from a consumer on social media because of Michiana Living TV. But what we're doing is we're adding content and value to those that are followers on our other platforms. And so what we'll do is we're kind of in a non-threatening way connecting the thing that we're doing to our business. From the real estate agent standpoint, I already get leads from these agents. So I can't tell you, Dave, that I'm getting a lead because I had somebody on my show. I can tell you that I'm adding value to the relationships that I already have. And it's value that no one else can add to these relationships. And so I don't know, do you guys track can you boil it that deep and say that because you're on a social media platform with me, I'm going to give you, I've got 3 leads from that. I don't think so, because they're not new relationships. These are people I've already established. So you guys can.
I'm doing more interviews with people that are, monetizing their social platform, and it's everything from lead sources from the media. And I did an incredible interview. I'll call that out later after Kai's not on the call, because I'll start trying to deliver more value then. But there are loan officers that are killing it. Josh Metal, I'm going to be interviewing him soon. He's making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for Mortgage Coach, from the media channels that he has. The American Dream TV, Kelly Zitlow is making a lot of money because she's got a media platform, American Dream TV, and she has realtor relationships that she would not otherwise have, in addition to loyalty to existing. So we will be interviewing more loan officers who are, using media, using advice, and they're monetizing it. I think in your case, one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you, one, I was just sincerely curious. When I see the way that you're creating these shows, it's really good content. It's really smart. You're new at it, but I'm genuinely curious to know the why. I know what you're doing because I follow you on Facebook, and to know these results. So, Kai, back to you. Any more questions? And Jonathan, I do want you to show your desktop and kind of give us a tour of some of this stuff, so we're hearing the concept and then we're seeing it visually.
Yeah, I would say 2 things. In terms of monetization, Gary Vaynerchuk, he's like the guru of social media. And a couple of Gary Vaynerchuk quotes really resonated with me. Number one, you know, he reminds us that there's never been a time that we can promote ourselves, create branding, get out in the media for free like today. I mean, if you rewind 10 years, 20 years, the cost of going on radio, the cost of going on TV, and today we can do YouTube, we can do Facebook Live, we can do Zoom videos, we can post, and everything is free. And so you have to take advantage of it. You have to take advantage of it. You can create such a wide outreach with your iPhone, your Android, posting a Zoom account, which is free. And you can go from nobody to somebody overnight. And in terms of monetization, somebody asked him that question one time. They said, you know, how do you measure your monetization on social media? And his answer was funny. He said, you know, sometimes when people ask me that question, that's like asking me, tell me the ROI on your mother, you know, because your mother raised you and she was there from the beginning. Are you going to sit there and you're going to pinpoint every little thing that she did? Or was she just the person that helped completely shape you and make you something? And that's how you have to look at social media. It's not always a one-to-one thing, but it can help really make an impact of shaping you in the community, creating exposure. But there's another thing too, which is secondary, is that when I started speaking, when I started training, coaching, leading in the community, I can tell you what that did for my personal confidence in controlling conversations, meetings, just showing up and feeling more like an expert. I mean, Jonathan, wouldn't you agree that the more interviews you're doing, it's like the smarter you're getting, the more confident you're getting talking to people, and it's elevating your game. And how do you measure that ROI? It's exponential, right, in your career.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, I just earlier this year launched a podcast. I don't have a ton of followers on the podcast, but what that does is it allows me to get in front of an influencer in the community. I just had a really awesome interview with a lady. She's named Dr. Selking. She is the mental performance coach for Brian Kelly, who's the head coach for Notre Dame football team. And she helps the Notre Dame football players with their mental struggles and things. And so I was able to have an interview with her. Awesome. Would not have had that if I didn't just start my own podcast, which is, once again, I'm trying to stay hyper local. I'm not trying to make this huge national influence, but it's been a way for, like you said, it allows me to really groom my communication skills and just connect with more people, which has just been an awesome thing. So I can't monetize that, but I can tell you that when I share with people that I'm doing an interview with somebody that's pretty cool, it, I think, helps with my value that I'm adding to the community. And it's hard to measure that. That's good.
So real quick, you will promise me 6 months from now, there'll be people that you interviewed. You know, this interview I did with Larry B-Tag, where he's measuring $120,000 a year in commissions that, 60,000 of that was loans that are sourced from Facebook. And then the rest of it's just a couple relationships that, because of the way he's using Facebook, they're new partners. So I know that will happen. And Kai, I love the fact that you talked about just the, how you grow, how you show up, how your confidence, I don't know what the quote is, but, readers are leaders. There's just so much. The more that you consume content, and then when you go to what I think is the next level, create content, you grow. Your confidence grows, your influence grows. So I love that you shined a light on that, brother. And I had not heard that. It's like putting a value on your mother. I'm going to be using that.
Yeah. It's a great one. And the four of us know that we've been on social media, we've done interviews, and I have a podcast too. It's a personal podcast, but it hones your communication skills. You really learn to speak better, communicate better, and then that reflects when you talk in person. And people in real life, they say, you're an eloquent speaker. And I say, I didn't start out that way. Trust me. It was a lot of stage time, a lot of listening to myself, not liking things, changing the way that I speak, being more concise. The last thing that I'll say before I leave is Jonathan, when you first started, I think a lot of people are intimidated to start, but I think people have to realize you just start somewhere and it continues to grow. I mean, I think you still are humbly saying that this is a work in progress. I don't think you're coming out saying, look how fancy this is, right? You're still saying that you're growing. and it's a matter of that. When exactly did you start, and what was it like when you first started? Because, you know, I think people are so intimidated with that first video, that first post. But I think it's a matter of growing and learning and getting better as you go along, right?
I agree. I've only been doing really courageously, you know, doing pretty decently video probably for just the last couple of years. And it really was the company that I worked for that was really pushing us to be more active in that space. And it was difficult. So yeah, I am nowhere near groomed enough to say that I've, you know, most of my business is funneled through social media. As a matter of fact, I am still kind of reinventing some of the things that I do. And historically, I mean, most of my business has been just past clients and real estate agent referrals. I'd say probably if I'm looking at my measurements from the last couple of years, it's really been about 80% real estate agent business, and then maybe 20% past client or like family and whatnot. And so I never really looked at social media as this place for me to get a ton of business, but it's starting to happen because I just had a loan application this morning with someone I went to high school with that was connected with me on social media, and she saw some of my posts and everything. So it happens, but I was never as proactive as I'm starting to be, Kai. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
I've always used social media for creating friendships, and over the years, the ROI has happened because of that. I'm just like you. I post some business things every once in a while on my business page, but on my personal page, it's all business. And it's amazing the amount of friendships that I create, and those friendship conversations turn into, you know, it starts out as a sports conversation, it starts out as a joke conversation, and then before you know it, they say, oh, you know, Kai, by the way, I wanted to talk to you about coaching. And some of that you just develop over time. That's how friendships are. And I just want to make one last comment before I go, is that I think you're absolutely right, Jonathan. I think a lot of times when it comes to real estate agents, we overstress the value part and we understress the relationship part, the personal aspect of it, the friendship aspect of it. When you get really, really deep with your agents, what you get is loyalty. And I heard this from another coach. When you have loyalty, you create two emotions, guilt and sympathy. So they'll want to not only do business with you, but they'll feel bad not doing business with you because they've created such a deep root and a deep bond from that, right? And that's very old school. And I think we need to bring a lot of that back. And just because we're digital now and just because we're doing all of these other things, that doesn't make it more personal. That doesn't make it less personal. It just gives us a bigger outreach. But we still have to go, you know, belly to belly and talk to people in person, do coffee meetings, get to know them, get to know their family.
So guys, I'm going to jump in here because Kai, I want to honor where you're at. I am so grateful that you took the time on Tuesday to give us a full hour in Mortgage Coach Land. And then on your birthday weekend golf game, you spent some time in the car before you get out on the driving range. But we don't want you blaming us for a bad day out on the course. So get out to the driving range, get some putts in, and thank you, brother.
I'm out. I'll watch the rest of the video when I'm back. And everybody have a good day. Jonathan, Todd, Dave, see you later.
Happy birthday, Kai.
All right. So Todd, it's you and I to bring it home. There's some things I want to pull out of Jonathan just because I do follow him. And you know, he's one of those guys where we met in person. I just, you know, I mean, he struck me when I met him, and just hearing the dialogue between Kai and Jonathan and how Jonathan has shown up here. Everybody who's listening to this, I want you to just write down humble, hungry, and smart. And if Jonathan doesn't show up and epitomize that, you know, like that's it. And I think everybody, myself included, you know, we need to be more humble. Every day we need to remind ourselves, be humble. You know, hunger is not something, you know, I think you got it or you don't. I don't think you can directly create hunger. But I like that conversation that Kai had. It's like the more you show up and you overcome your fears, you build confidence. And that builds hunger. So hunger isn't something you can just go, oh, I want to be hungrier. I want to be more ambitious. I need to do more. You need to attack that at a lower level. It's how you start your morning. It's the little fears that you overcome. And Jonathan, you've obviously overcome a lot, because when I first started talking to you, you were not doing video every day. You are now. I still remember when you reached out to me and say, hey, Dave, you know, what do you use? You haven't used Zoom forever. And now you're a Mortgage Coach Power user. You create videos on Mortgage Coach. You're a Zoom Power user. You're an upcoming Facebook celebrity in South Bend. So I just hope everybody writes that down and rocks it out. So before I ask the next question, Todd, you have been listening patiently and standing on the sideline for 30 minutes. Any questions you want to ask before I drive some things here?
I got just a couple technical questions that we've gotten from the audience, and then I've got a few ideas and some things I'll add if we have time at the end with regards to measuring and bring it back to, you mentioned Ron Quintero and what we had done with him back in the day with real estate radio and sort of how that impacted us at that time and how I think it translates to today. But the nuts and bolts question people are asking is about equipment. Jonathan, what equipment are you using? I already heard you say Zoom. I can see that microphone there behind you for your podcast. Do you guys have someone professional that's editing it and uploading it? Or are you guys using iPhones? What does that all look like?
Yeah, good question. So for the podcasting, I do have a local guy that helps me produce my podcast. I mean, it's actually pretty easy to produce, but I got hooked up with him. His name is Michael Yoder. He works with people across the country as well. So he has clients everywhere, but he's an awesome dude. His name's Michael Yoder. And I can't even think of the name of his media, but I can share that with you after the video. With regard to the videos for Michiana Living, we film all from my iPhone. So I just use my iPhone.
Yes. Love that.
No other equipment. I do have 3 things that I use to make it feel more like it's a legit interview when you're going into a business. Like, you know, why would they let you go back, you know, into the kitchen if you're just some dude with an iPhone? You know, how do you make it look more legitimate? And so there's 3 bits of information that you'll need. One, you can go to Amazon and get all of this. And so this is something that our corporate office had suggested that I order. And number 1 is a tripod from Amazon. You get the ones that are, your height, and that works with an iPhone. Number 2 would be you can get a mic that plugs into the end of your iPhone, and then you can put lapel mics on yourself and then on the person you're interviewing. Very cheap, so it helps with your audio being pretty crisp. And then number 3, it's a gimbal. It's I think DJI, the Osmo. There's a gimbal that's like maybe a little over $100 or so, but you can put your phone into this gimbal, and it's like a gyro thing where it makes your B-roll nice and smooth. And what basically B-roll is when you're doing the interview, you're done with the interview, then you can just get some shots of like the business or the shots of the person cooking a steak on the grill or whatever. And so it's really easy to do with regard to filming it. How do we actually produce it? That's where you'll have to figure that out, because we actually, in our corporate office, we've got 2 of our marketing, kind of digital marketing people that I just upload the videos. They put it together using their own software. And so that is what helps me a lot, because I know generally speaking, a loan officer wouldn't want to produce all of their videos. What I would suggest though, is if you're wanting to do this and you don't have anybody in marketing that would be helping you out, I would suggest using, if you have an iPhone, I would use iMovie. I've used that, and it's pretty easy to cut and paste and kind of create your own video. It doesn't have to be perfect. All you have to do is just get it out there and make sure you're supporting that local business. And I think that would be a good way to do it too.
Hey, Jonathan, real quick before you go off that, if you could, just take a picture of that, post this call, post it, either make a post saying, hey guys, here's my equipment. Yeah. I do want to throw in, this is what, I think it was $7 on Amazon. It's got a suction cup here, so you can put it on the window of anything and put your phone in here, and boom. I use this all the time. Anybody who's creating a lot of video, make sure you carry one of these around in your backpack. I'll put a link in Amazon to the one I use. I did not do a lot of research. I picked one that I just thought looked cool, and I would have spent more money, but it was under $10, but it's awesome. So make sure you get that. And if you do have more questions, if you're listening to the recording and you're like, I have more questions technically, feel free to post below and the community will answer it. This question's come up a lot. You could probably type in tripod or tripod in the Facebook group, and you'll get lots of suggestions. I mean, the technical questions around video come up a lot. There's just a mountain of data in here in this community, Facebook Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind, to get that answered. Todd, anything else?
I would say one thing I would add real quick is even if you're not doing interviews and you're just trying to do some Facebook Live or just other things, the lapel mics are just very nice to have because it really adds to audio quality. And a lot of times I don't even know if it'll still be okay, but if you just want to take it up a little bit more with quality, then getting a lapel mic is just awesome. That plugs into your phone.
That's a pro tip. That's a pro tip. That's probably the biggest one, and they make them with big, long extender cords. So when you look at that, make sure you get the longest one possible, because you'll find that when you're filming that there's, you're like too close sometimes. So just definitely do that. That was a great tip. As far as people are also asking the age-old question, obviously Facebook keeps changing their algorithm. Are you posting them to your business pages and then sharing them to your personal page, or vice versa? What does that look like?
Yes. So when it comes to my personal posts, I have made a point to build my friends on Facebook on my personal page. So I think I'm up to a few thousand or something like that, or a couple thousand. No, I'm up to a couple thousand personally and a few thousand on my business page. But yes, you're right. And you can't post too much business on your personal, but I do use my personal a lot for some of my business things. And I don't share, I try not to share too much. So like if I'm doing something on my business page, sharing it to your personal, a lot of people think that that's a way to easily get it to your personal page, but actually the algorithms will stop that from really showing up on people's feeds. So you want to make sure that it's an original post on your personal and your business. With the Michiana Living, that's the one that gets kind of tricky because we are branding the Michiana Living page, which is a business page. And so I've got actually some of the stats on it. If you guys want, I can try to show you the stats on the business page. If you guys are cool with that, you want me to share my screen?
Yeah. Well, let's do two things, because I want to make sure everybody knows what you're doing. So first of all, share your screen. Okay. I do want to make sure everybody knows, like, how many loans are you closing a year?
Last year I closed about 224.
So I want to make sure people realize we're talking to a mortgage professional that closes over 200 loans a year. I mean, that is not top 1%. That is fractions of top 1%. You are thinking kind of level 4, but you're producing at a very high level. You're managing a team. You're a great family man. I mean, you know, it's obvious to everyone that knows you that you're getting it done. And so I wanted to get that out. And then this is a perfect segue. Let's go through some stats on what's happening. And then I want them to see what you're doing on Facebook. And I want to make sure we spend at least 10 minutes getting a tour from your perspective, the content you're creating.
You see that it says Michiana Living stats on there. Do you guys see that?
Yeah, we do. We got it.
Okay, so this is just a real quick list between January and February of this year. So you can see that we have 4.5 thousand organic. It says full, meaning that they've actually watched it organically, almost a full view of the video, which is, I think, are like 30 seconds or longer. And then you've got organic partial. So a lot of it's been organic reach. And then we do put $25 at minimum on our Michiana Living posts so that we're getting that out to other people that is not necessarily organic. But most of the time, you want, if it's on your business page, you want about at least 50-50. So a lot of it's organic, and then you've got some non-organic or paid reach as well. And so we've got about a 50-50 thing. We're actually a little bit more organic than we do on the non-organic or the paid partial reach. So that's been a big deal for us. And so it's been a really nice thing. Now our Michiana Living page only has like 800 likes on it. And so we do definitely get a lot of shares. And so that's made it a big deal for us. And then this is just Michiana Living. This is just my local one. If I go into our corporate site, we actually have our own kind of video thing going. So it's very similar where you've got more organic, but you can see on our corporate level, that yellow there's a paid partial, and then you've got the paid full in that little, that burgundy or magenta color. And so on a corporate level, there's actually more paid than there is organic. But when you go down to the local level, when you're drilling into the hyper local, then you're seeing more organic reach. And I think that says something about having that local page that's highlighting local businesses as well. So that's just I think a good thing for us to know about.
Good. Well, let's do this. Let's go through your Facebook page. I see you got some TCAs up. Let's make sure we talk about that because
gotta have TCAs up. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the deal, guys. You need to do two things in the world today and in the world of tomorrow. You absolutely need to have advice be a value proposition. It can't just be words. You need to deliver tangible advice to the families that you serve, and you need to be able to show that to realtors in a way that's tangible. And you need to be a media leader. You need to have attention, or you're going to be a secret agent. And if you want to compete against people like Jonathan, you've got to have media and you've got to have advice. So tell us what we're looking at here.
So this is just the Michiana Living page, so you can see the home page, and then there's for each of our loan officers. This one, I'm not going to go into the volume on it, but this was Amy. She's one of our loan officers, and she interviewed a masseuse in the area. And you can see the start of her video here. We do try to put as much as possible. We'll try to put some of the subtitles on there so that people, when they hover over it, if they don't have any volume, they can at least read what you're saying. We just started doing that, but that's important, I think, when you're posting videos. I had one down here. This one's a pizza place, and that was the teaser clip. So one thing that I would tell you guys, if you're trying to do any interviews of businesses, try to have a quick teaser at the beginning. So that's like a 3 to 5 second video that tries to get more people engaged in your interview that you're going to have. And then you just keep your video interviews to maybe 3 to 4 minutes. So this is me interviewing a gentleman that I know. His name's Jimmy. He owns his own pizza place locally. His wife's a real estate agent. And so she was there at the time we were doing the interview. So this has been this was a really good one. You can see the people reached was 12,121. We had 1,500 engagements. And you could just see some of the stats on that. But I do take these videos. I'll share it with on my personal page. I'll share it on my Hallmark business page. And I'll, of course, try to have a call to action on the video and share it with and have other people share it as well. We didn't do any giveaways for this one, but a lot of times we'll try to do giveaways. Most of the business owners will, they'd be more than happy to give out like a $100 or $50 gift card.
So a couple takeaways. One, I'm having pizza for lunch now after seeing that. That's takeaway number one. But think about this, guys. Do you think Jimmy is more likely to do his next loan, with Jonathan down? Do you think he's more likely to refer? Do you think the wife who's a realtor is digging this? Do you think that everybody who knows this pizza place and who's on Facebook, Jonathan just got some attention. He's a good dude. I like him. I trust him. This is all going to translate into business. This is all going to translate into you having a unique competitive advantage in the city that you live, where you do life and business. It's all going to lead to that, and it's going to give you control over your future. So I'm loving this. Let's go to your personal page, because I want to make sure, this is advanced stuff. Everybody's not going to just go from, I'm not intentional on Facebook to I create a brand. Everybody has a personal page. Talk about what you do here. And even I want you to kind of go back before you started building these local brands and doing, what I would just say is next level stuff. Talk about just some basics that you're doing and that any loan officer can get off today's call and go, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to put a post on here.
Well, number one, I think on your personal page, the first thing that you have to be willing to do is be genuine. And people want to work with somebody that's genuine, that they can trust. And I try not to be fabricated. And I'm not always posting personal things, but I'm heavily involved in my church as an example. And I will post things about that. And I do that. And are there people that may be posting political things and whatnot? Yes, some people do. I stay away from a lot of that, but I do post things that I'm personally passionate about. I do not argue. I never complain on Facebook. That's one thing. And so for me, as an example, when I'm doing, I did this podcast interview just 2 days ago with Amber Selking, as I was telling you. And so I just try to post the podcast. I didn't say anything about my business, but I just posted that I'm producing that podcast. So that was some personal posts.
So wait, so time out. This is before you've even published it and did it. You're like, hey, I am doing this. I did this interview, and you're not even pushing it out yet, but you're giving everybody a heads up on it. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, it's going to be produced. I'm going to try to get it out by next week. And so
I like that though. You got like, hey, I did it. I'm working on it. And now, you're going to get 2 or 3 posts out of this. Love it.
But I will tell you though, on my personal page, there's a lot of things where I do I drop the ball a lot. But one of the things that has always been very helpful for me is that if you want to have engagement, you want to make sure you're asking questions. I think that's really important. So you're asking, when did you buy your first home, or what year, or how many homes have you owned in your life, or something like that. If it's just a really basic question, then you get a lot of comments and engagement. And then as long as you're commenting back, then you're going to get more points, which is going to score better on the algorithm with Facebook. And so I'm not always doing it. Don't get me wrong. So I do drop the ball often on that.
Hey, real quick, I just want to throw this out to not only you, Jonathan, but the community. Rates just dropped, guys. Yeah. So like literally yesterday was a big day. And I think everybody should be talking about that, and what is your interest rate? Hey, rates just dropped by X yesterday. What's your rate? I don't know, but I want to throw it out to the community. If you're watching this and you have a great post that performed, share that back in the Facebook group. Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind. What is your best post right now to get people to engage with you on Facebook? Rates just dropped. It's time to do a lot of total cost analysis. I saw Denise Donahue did I don't remember if it was it was Instagram, an Instagram story. But what are you doing, Jonathan, and what are you doing, community, to generate leads and communicate given rates just went down? So you, Jonathan, are you going to do anything today, tomorrow, based off what just happened?
I'm going to do that right after this call. Now that you mentioned that, that's an awesome idea. And actually, I totally agree. I think that's great. That's a perfect post for right now. And I was thinking about it, but I didn't do it. And so I am going to do an engaging post on just as simple as that, just a few sentences, and don't need to do anything more than that, which will get people your top of mind. That's on your personal page. You're not saying, hey, use me for your mortgage. You're just saying, hey, rates went down. What's your current interest rate? You know what? Most people don't even know their rate, number one, but it's going to get them thinking about it. So that's good.
What about this, Jonathan? I'm just spitballing with you. But What about posting that? And then like on Monday, I'm sure everybody on this call, hopefully you're calling your past customers. You will have done a number of total cost analysis where you're showing people how much money they could save. What about on Monday or Saturday where you say, hey, I just talked to a client. I was able to save them X. That saved them X over 5 years. And you actually, kind of do a brag and post an example of a total cost analysis. And then you say, hey, if you want one, let me know. So there's kind of like a jab, and then a right hook. What are your thoughts on that and posting a TCA?
I think that's a great idea too. I think a follow-up is genius, because a lot of times we only have one jab. We don't jab again, or we don't have the right hook in there. And you've got to be more consistent. And once again, I drop the ball often because you let the day get ahead of you or away from you, and you don't win by noon, and you got a problem.
Love that. Don't win by noon. Make sure y'all win by noon.
Talking my love language.
Yeah, exactly. I knew you liked that. So here's another ask for everybody watching this. If you're on it live, if you win a loan with a total cost analysis and you do a post leveraging a TCA, share that back within the group. I mean, it's like the salmon are running right now, guys. Rates just dropped. There's a whole segment of clients. So let's get better together in the Mortgage Coach community. It is Friday. Between now and Monday, share some gold in the Facebook group, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I would throw in there too, you guys have to understand that especially if your company's selling off servicing, I own some rental properties, and I have gotten 1 email and 2 phone calls from servicers letting me know that rates have dropped. And so remember, if you're not advising your clients that this is going on, the servicer that you guys sold servicing to and they don't view you as the mortgage company anymore. They view them as it. So worst case, send an email, but I think Dave is absolutely right. Jump on, do this video, and then you're really going to have the results that you're after. Well, maybe pick up the phone too.
Yeah. You need to do it all right now. You need to be calling, you need to be emailing, you need to be texting, you need to be Facebooking. If you use Instagram, you need to be Instagramming, and you need to be telling the story 2 or 3 different ways. So guys, let us know what you're doing. So Jonathan, back to you. Show us what else you got here.
So with Facebook you want to, or do you want to go into TCAs, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, show us another post. And then, well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's segue to one of your TCAs because that's on point. And I have done mortgage strategy interviews with Jonathan. So click down below. I'll have one of my most recent mortgage strategy interviews. But pull up I don't know, or show what you're going to show here. And then before you go, let's show a TCA, one of your TCAs.
So I did have an opportunity to try to gain more followers on my business page. And so this, once again, was through our corporate digital media marketing manager. But I was able to get a lot of followers and likes on my business page by giving out Notre Dame football tickets. So if you have anything that you want to give of value, what I did is I just simply posted a picture of some football tickets because I had season tickets, and it was the Indy versus Ball State. It's Ball State's in Indiana, and they rarely I don't know if they ever played Notre Dame, but they played Notre Dame this last season, and so we gave away tickets. I mean, the tickets are not that expensive, so what we said was just share the post, tag who you bring with you to the game, and then like our page. And we had a ton of traction from that. And so that was huge for me. And so we had another person that I know, I didn't do this, but we had Garth Brooks came and he sang at the Notre Dame Stadium this year. It was a really cool opportunity for people because it's very rare. And so that was another opportunity to get a ton of traction on your page. And then what I did is I went live. And I'm not going to play it, but I went live and I announced the winner of the Notre Dame versus Ball State football tickets, and it was great. And so I'm going to be doing some more of that this coming season, this coming year as well. So keep that in mind on your business page.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I mean, it's getting creative, right? You guys have to get outside of your zone. And I think one of the things that Kai said before he left was, Jonathan, you just started, right? You just did it. And then you're keeping it going. What I tend to find is our biggest hurdle is actually starting, and our second biggest hurdle is keeping it going. And so certainly where you can't measure results, how are you keeping your team motivated, the loan officers who are helping with your Michiana TV, to keep wanting to go out there and do interviews?
Well, I'm the one trying to lead by example, and so I can't expect other people to do these things if I'm not doing it. And so that's a big motivating factor for me. And we all know that that's what you have to do. And so we have sales meetings every 2 weeks. And so we're always talking about what's the next thing that we can be doing. It's all about personal branding. And so once again, it's not so much branding the company, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we should be branding ourselves as that local community expert. And one of the things that I'll share with you guys, which is just kind of unique, is I'm known for, I give a pineapple at my closings so I attend most of my closings. There's a lot of loan officers that don't even attend their closings. And I would just say, if you attend the closing, you're there, make the most of it. So I do take pictures of my closings. We'll post those pictures. That's kind of getting old a little bit now, but we're known for giving a pineapple at our closings, which is kind of a cool thing, where the pineapple represents a symbol of hospitality, and it's a warm welcome. And so if you're in Indiana, giving a pineapple at your closings is kind of funny, but people always think of me now when they look at pineapples at the store. That's what they always tell me. So just a kind of a cool little extra thing. And so we'll post things with pineapples on our page, and that kind of gets people's attention.
I just love the uniqueness in it. And I mean, what I would tell you guys is, although Jonathan hasn't measured it yet, I have no doubt when he's wearing his Hallmark shirt, when he's going in there, he's branded. It's got his name on it, that people on Facebook are clicking through and finding him personally, and that he's going to be getting calls that say, hey, I watched you in that video over at the pizza place. And so that's the part that's hard to measure, because some people will call and just say, I found you somewhere, and not tell him where. But I can just tell you from doing radio for 5 years what an impact that had. And then I think the other part I would just throw out there, Jonathan, is if you guys haven't used the interview strategy with realtors you don't know yet, I would absolutely start throwing that in there, because for us, we built our 3 biggest relationships through the radio. They didn't know us. We didn't brand the radio as Todd Bookspan Mortgage Guy. We branded it as Real Talk Arizona, a radio show. They would come on it. They would like me just like your people are liking you. And then we're able to build relationship and rapport. So as you guys are thinking about this, yes, you heard Jonathan say that he's building deeper relationships with his current partners. He's building relationships out in the community, but you also have this opportunity to use it as a lead magnet to get someone who would be difficult to get in front of because they don't want to just sit down with another loan officer. But you know what? Their ego is going to get in there. They're going to want to be interviewed for a podcast, info thing on Facebook, whatever you're going to call it. They're going to give you that opportunity because they want to promote themselves.
Love that, guys. And out of the 31 cities that we have, an American Dream TV show, that is the biggest pull is loan officers are getting in front and creating media with top agents in those markets. And, some of them are existing relationships where it's just creating more value, having more fun, building better relationships. And some of it is brand new relationships. So Jonathan, let's close out here in these last 5 minutes with a TCA. And, tell us what we're looking at and, what we can learn from it real quick. And then we'll wrap up today's interview. And remember, folks, while Jonathan's pulling this up, if you have questions, put them in comments, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube. If you got a takeaway, if you got value, if you just got some inspiration from today's call, give us a like. That's the best way to show value you got from a mortgage coach interview is give us a like and share it with friends. I'll tell you when I see your TCA.
All right.
Also, Jonathan, while you're pulling that up, for everybody that has on social survey and you use Mortgage Coach, we will be turning on an integration within the next couple of weeks. So, Jonathan, you will automatically have some of your top reviews show up in the bottom left part of your total cost analysis within a couple of weeks. So, hopefully that's something you'll be excited about.
You see it on there?
We see it, buddy. We don't see the social survey integration yet, but we see it.
Yeah, so I think the one takeaway I would leave with everybody when it comes to TCAs right now. So the market I'm in. Our average loan amounts are like 150,000 or so. So we have fairly modest average loan amounts. And so when it comes to the buy down strategy and things, and we can sometimes do that when we have the higher loan amount deals. But a lot of our buyers that we're dealing with right now are utilizing the lower down payment options like the Home Possible and Home Ready loans. And so if those of you are using, are really big into Home Possible, Home Ready, Fannie and Freddie, 3% down options based on income, this has been a big deal for us. This particular client, what I have found to be really helpful, and she's a first-time home buyer, is to share with her she initially came to me with just a 5% down thought from the other lender. And I shared with her the 5% down loan option, but I also shared with her the idea of maybe keeping more money in her bank and having a little bit less out of pocket on a 3% down option. But she still wanted to do a little bit more out of pocket. So what I did is I shared with her single premium. And so if you don't know much about mortgage insurance, or you're not really good at understanding single premium or finance mortgage insurance, I think that's really important to get really good at explaining that, because if you're competing with some of the order takers of different companies, they a lot of times are not talking about all of the ins and outs of the mortgage insurance options that they have. And as you probably know, if they've got good credit, PMI is very cheap right now. It's pretty inexpensive, especially if you're doing the single premium. And so really, I wanted to share these items, finance compared to single, compared to 5% down with monthly, which is her original option, compared to 3% down with monthly MI. And for her, what we looked at was the savings. But if you look at the, where are we at here? It's the monthly payment that made the big difference for this particular buyer. So you can see the 5% down with singles was $1142 compared to her original 5% down with monthly mortgage insurance. So we were saving about $40 a month there. On the 3% down loan option, she could actually do 3% down, have monthly mortgage insurance, and it isn't a dramatic difference between the 5% down. She can keep another $3,000 roughly in her bank and help with appliances and furniture, things like that. So for her, I didn't do this yet, but here's what I would encourage you to do. If you have somebody that can do 3% down and they've got good credit, I would look at single premium with 3% down paid at closing compared to a 5% down loan with monthly mortgage insurance. And it's going to have very similar out of pocket, even less than 5% down, and you get rid of the mortgage insurance altogether. And so that's a way for you to kind of win the deal. But for her, she wanted to stick with 5% down.
So real quick, scroll to the top real quick. I want everybody to see this is personally branded advice. His company brand, his personal brand. Now scroll down to the 5-year. And then it's always important, folks, show the details and then show the cost over time. You know, blow it up. You know, he completely changed the conversation. You know, whether he was competing with a bank, a credit union, another local loan officer, he's like, oh, this is what you talked about here? Well, what about this? And what about this? And then I want to make sure you make the most educated decision. So I show the cost over time. And then you can scroll down a little bit more. Now let's look at it over 15 years. And so do you think that customer is going to do a loan with Jonathan? Even if his rate was a little higher, they're going to do a loan with Jonathan. So brother, this was awesome. I do think you and I are going to need to do another 15-minute mortgage strategy call just on this strategy. Would you be up for spending 15 minutes later today or Monday on Zoom with me? And we'll create a video just around this. If you could share on your screen real quick, Jonathan.
Yes.
So guys, if you got value, ask us a question, give us a like. I'm going to continue interviewing Jonathan because I think he's killing it. He's in South Bend, Indiana. He is becoming the digital mayor of that market. To me, this is the playbook of everybody. You should be delivering advice with a total cost analysis. Be serious about 5-star reviews, collecting them, using them, and be serious about creating media and content on Facebook. Todd, I will give you the last minute before we wrap up today's call.
You know, all I'm going to do is put a bow on it. Jonathan, so good to see you again, even though it wasn't face-to-face. You crushed it. You added a ton of value. Keep the conversation going. If you guys have questions for Jonathan or you have experience that you can share that is similar to Jonathan's here in Facebook or on the YouTube channel, that's what this community is all about. You saw some great examples of how they made Mortgage Coach actionable on top of all of this. You know, and in the end, I just want to say thanks to you, Dave. Thanks to you, Jonathan, Kai. Hope you're enjoying your golf game and appreciate all of you guys taking time in your busy Friday to be here. On behalf of Dave, Mortgage Coach, myself, and Win by Noon, we'll see you guys all next week. Same place, same time, same channel.
And remember, everybody, Jonathan's using Win by Noon too. So we could keep going. He's using his CRM. He's winning by noon. He's using Mortgage Coach. He's creating media. Jonathan, you are the modern mortgage professional, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks. See you guys.
Take care, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend, everybody, and hopefully you got a lot of value from today's conversation.
All right, go put it into action. We'll see you guys next week.